Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Shahira Hanim, and together with my group mates, we will be presenting on the topic the impacts of online learning on students' mental health. So, let's start.
Baik, sebarang keputusan Kementerian Pendidikan Malaysia KPM berkaitan penutupan sekolah dibuat berdasarkan penelitian mendalam terhadap data-data yang ada serta perbincangan terperinci dengan Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia KKM dan juga Majlis Keselamatan Negara MKN.
Hi, my name is Hidair and I'm a student from London College of Fashion.
Hey there, this is Kat. I'm a 22 years old student. I study fashion design in Milan in an Academy of Fine Arts. This is my 14th day in quarantine at my parents' house already.
I actually moved back with my parents, and this is my study space.
Hi, I'm here in my childhood bedroom right now. This is where I'm going to be working on classwork from now on. It's definitely not going to be the same not being around my professors and not being around my classmates.
Hello, my name is Akir Stewart. I'm an 18-year-old currently attending New York University. All my classes that I'm taking in New York University has just either completely halted or just been changed completely.
All the shoots that have been organized this coming week and the week after have all been cancelled or postponed.
I started my first day of online classes today.
But still, our semester will be compromised because of this.
We haven't really been informed on who we can talk to, and that is clearly quite a lack of support on international students just like myself.
I am trying to do as much as I can at home with any kind of waste material that I find around, and I am really giving a lot of importance to anything that I see because I really have no choice.
It has completely changed my life in the span of maybe like 2 weeks.
There is no element of closure. I feel just empty. It hasn't hit me yet, but it will when I go home and realise, wow, that was my last day. Like, last day!
I'm not going to have any exams to show my full potential of what I can do.
It's a bit of a slap in the face. I'm preparing for the end, and the end has just come without our knowledge.
My mental health at the beginning was not so good because I suffer from anxiety.
It is affecting everybody I know, but the ways in which it affects me as a young person has just been so extreme, especially as I battle with mental health. Social isolation is probably like my worst nightmare.
I'm really sad. School, 7 years.
Carpet has been pulled from under our feet.
I'm going to miss having that support. I'm going to miss my friends. I already miss my friends so freaking much.
Just too abrupt.
Everything's so surreal right now. Like, everything happened so abruptly. So I'm still trying to process it. I actually can't comprehend that we're not going to be in this school anymore or this uniform.
In December 2019, the Chinese authorities notified the world that the virus was spreading through their communities. And the following months, it spreads to other countries, which causes doubling within days. That virus is the severe acute respiratory syndrome related coronavirus 2 that causes the disease called COVID-19 that everyone simply calls coronavirus. Our country confirmed its first cases of COVID-19 in January 2020. On 18 March 2020, the country imposed stringent restrictions on people's movement to suppress transmission of the new virus. We decided to put into practice a huge confinement. The pressure on our health system was increasing in a very rapid way. Malaysia took strong measures in the face of an unprecedented health challenge affecting all areas of life, including one of the most popular for its culture and economy. In every country, education is very important, not only from an economical point of view, but also have an important social role. When we decided to stop schooling, it was kind of a shock, and we realized that this is something serious. Education is an important part in creating the new normality. They help us to spread the messages that the virus is something to take seriously and that you can do the same thing but in different ways. Under new rules, under new preventions, and under new normality. The last set of figures, over 1 billion children out of school closure in over 180 countries around the globe nationwide. At this point, it is affecting virtually the entire world. Millions of parents are struggling as they are trying to homeschool their children. We know the impact of this virus will be far-reaching, but what does it mean for education institutional and the children learning within them? Everybody is having a major change, but if they are having these experiences very differently, and we think that is something we really need to keep in mind when we are thinking about solution, as well as to recognize the diversity of experience. Malaysian government has seen from the beginning of the pandemic that education had to be a prominent part of our country's recovery. For this reason, they have placed the resumption of education, classes, and activity with another initiative and platform. Malaysia followed WHO's risk-based approach on education by assessing the risks of each education event, taking measures to reduce risk of transmission, and communicating the action with the public. Teachers tried to be prudent and creative at the same time because education needed to remain, and in order for it to remain, they had to find a solution. As schools and universities closed their doors, many educators have begun to turn to the online teaching to connect with their students. Online teaching is education that takes place over the internet. It is often referred to as e-learning among other terms. It is an access to all resources of a traditional course, helps participants learn wherever they are, and having the freedom to choose the time for study. Technologies step in to fill the void left by classroom, but it is also creating a deepening inequality between those who have the tools to access and those who don't. To be on lockdown at home wasn't easy because we have a very structured life, but suddenly everything was taken away. This pandemic has shifted many perspectives towards education, basically realizing that our life revolves around it. For instance, SPM and PT3 were cancelled. As a student, these are probably their biggest chance towards their dreams to be successful. Everything looks under control, while in fact, many students' mental health was abused.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to Dr. Khadijah and my fellow classmates. So I am Nuragila binti Azal and I will be talking about the causes of mental health issues among students due to online learning. Online learning during this quarantine season is inevitable because it is the only way where teaching and learning session can be conducted. However, a majority of the people who are involved in this session, especially students, are having problems pertaining to this online learning method. It's true that online learning is not that new. However, due to it not being implemented in most educational institutions as a regular way of teaching and learning, makes it harder for students and teachers to adapt to it during quarantine. Everyone is under distress due to the attacks of COVID-19, and the addition of having to complete assignments and attend classes via online medias have caused various issues to arise, which leads to students having mental breakdowns and ending up with mental health issues such as anxiety, stress, and depression. According to Ray Schroeder via Inside Higher Ed website, anxiety and stress can lower immunity, subjecting people to illness, and it's not just the common cold. People with high levels of self-reported distress are found to be 32% more likely to die of cancer, and depression has been associated with heart disease. He stated that faculty staff should be at the front line of responsibility for identifying emotional and mental health issues among students because in lots of cases, No one else are monitoring them at home. And on campus, those students may be observed by classmates, lecturers, and other campus staff who observe students informally every day. But during online learning, these students are often not seen by fellow students, advisors, or other people. So let's take a look at the first point, which is a non-conducive environment at home. So going to school or university helps students to stay focused in learning because everything that is not related to gaining education is left at home, making schools and universities a conducive place to study. However, due to the pandemic, students have to stay at home and take online classes. But staying at home 24/7 does not make it a conducive study environment because they also have to tend to other responsibilities. Online classes sometimes take up a lot of time and may last all day, and not all family members understand that online classes are still regular classes, meaning that it's compulsory. They don't understand the significance of the students sitting in front of the laptop or phone for hours since they assume it's not important and that they can catch up on the lessons later. Some parents are not exposed to how online learning works, and that's why they expect their kids to be available to do work at any time, even if they are in class. Moreover, when staying at home, students are expected to do chores and take care of younger siblings, if they have any. This puts more pressure on the students as babysitting while you are doing assignments or if you are in class is not an easy task to do as it may disrupt their attention in studying. So the next issue is the lack of social or face-to-face interaction. So according to counselors Jessica Oyoke and Courtney Brown at MSU's Counseling and Psychiatric Services, feelings of isolation due to the lack of face-to-face interactions are just one of the many pitfalls of digital learning. Having regular face-to-face meetings and discussions are not just ways for students to share what they've learned, but it also serves as a stress reliever as spending valuable time with friends in class is important as it satisfies their social needs. However, physical interaction with others are not possible with online learning. According to Aoki and Brown, the root of anxiety is the mind and body's way of responding to distress, uneasiness, and unfamiliar situations. Due to the inability to predict what is going to happen every day because of COVID-19 and the pressure of online learning and assignments, students are prone to become more anxious, which can lead them to experience extreme anxiety attacks. So online classes not only make students experience isolation, but also other challenges due to increased screen time, such as fatigue, headaches, lack of motivation, procrastination, and ineffective time management. The last point is the lack of facilities. It is widely known that in Malaysia, not every household or school can afford or have sufficient technological gadgets that students can use for their studies. According to New Straits Times, educators have stated that while they were working hard to prepare learning materials, they are facing challenges in terms of not only students' disciplines or willingness to learn, but also a lack of resources and facilities. Some students lack facilities at home due to digital poverty, making it hard for them to gain access to technology and to keep up with their lessons, since some of them have to rely on the existence of cyber cafes to go online for class or to do assignments. Moreover, the area where the students' houses are located do not have a strong network coverage, making it difficult for them to stay online or even go online for classes via platforms such as Google Meet or WebEx. When this happens, it puts a lot of pressure on the students due to the thought of missing out valuable information regarding to the lesson that is being taught during class. They will become anxious and stressed out, and if this happens in a long run, it will lead to the deterioration of their mental health. And lastly is financial problems that arise especially during quarantine. So to get internet connection, it requires you to have Wi-Fi or data. And to get Wi-Fi or data, you have to pay for it. But some families cannot afford to buy much of such luxury, and some families also cannot afford it at all. So due to MCO, many workers, especially those who are parents, lost their jobs and suffer from financial problems. So their children who are also students usually work part-time jobs to help ease their parents' financial burden. So by using their own hard-earned money to pay for their education expenses. And while that may also increase their stress due to the lack of rest and free time, worrying about their financial state too does not make it any better for them. So there are students who cannot afford a lot of data, which makes them unable to go online frequently as required, since online classes are usually done every day, making online learning a hassle instead of an enjoyable experience for them. Right, so with that, that's all from me regarding the causes of why online learning is detrimental to students' mental health. So now let's move on to Farouk. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Amir Farouk bin Darishah, and today I'm going to be talking about the implication of online learning towards students' mental health. But before all that, good day to everyone. Did I say that? But good day to everyone, whenever and wherever you are. Stay safe. Before I start, we have to make clear of something. There is a clear disparity on the idea of online learning, whether it is good or bad. In retrospect, in general overview, in today's day and age, online learning should be well facilitated, and students and lecturers should be well equipped with the technology given the advancements that we've made throughout the years. We can agree that online learning should not be a problem today as compared to maybe 15 to 10 years ago. But to say that it is good or bad is highly dependent on the environment that the students are in, whether they have the facilities, whether they have the internet connection, they have the tools, computers and smartphones to help them in the online learning process. And of course, whether they are physically and mentally fit to be able to go through long hours, long periods of time staring at the screen. And in today's presentation, we're going to be talking mainly about on their mental health and how it affects the online learning experience that one can experience. And do take note that it goes both ways when we're talking about the implication. Online learning affects mental health just like how mental health would affect the experience or the environment of the said online learning. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Without further ado, let's just jump into the first implication.
Okay, the first implication is it renders online learning unreliable as a mode of learning. It is not only unreliable, but it can also have a detrimental effect on students' mental health. A lot of arguments can be made to whether or not online classes are better than the normal classes, the face-to-face classes, and vice versa. But I think a lot of people can agree when I say that face-to-face classes are much more reliable than online classes. And this is true because in online classes, there's a lot of factors being put into play in order for that class to function as properly or as effective as the normal class that we used to have. Factors like internet connection, students' engagement, these are the things that would affect the whole environment of the online class to make it effective or not. And this just goes to show that online classes, online learning is the best example to show that there's no one size fits all approach in teaching or education. To make it more clearer, as a future educator, as a fellow future educator, we were taught that in order for you to make the classroom effective, you would have to integrate a lot of stuff into it, right? For example, if you were to teach a grammar lesson, you would have to integrate fun activities, fun games, maybe make them watch videos explaining about the grammar rules, to make it more engaging, to make it more fun, memorable, and this in turn will lead to effective teaching. But in the olden days, what the teachers used to do is they would stand in front of the class and they would just give inputs. They would just explain about the grammar rules, and after the class is done, then they just leave. Now, in this day, today, that method would not fly, as students would just easily get bored. And even if it would, the students who would excel in that class are the students who are self-sufficient enough to absorb everything that the teacher has to say. The same can be said in online classes, where there's a lot of input on one side and there's a lot of absorption needed on the other. The students would have to be highly self-sufficient in order for them to just be on track with the syllabus. And that's the first point. Online learning requires students to have a high degree of self-sufficiency, but not everyone has this self-sufficiency in them. The responsibility to get up, wake up, and just stare in front of the laptop screen all day, every day. Not everyone has that capability, and students with mental health requires more external support and care from peers and lecturers/teachers, and this is just facts. According to counselors Jessica Oyok and Courtney Brown, this is from an institution overseas. They said that isolation due to the lack of face-to-face interaction are just one of the many pitfalls of digital learning. With online classes, they added that students may experience increased fatigue, headaches, lack of motivation, avoidance/procrastination, ineffective time management, feelings of isolation due to limited socialization in person, minimized awareness and understanding of others created by in-person dialogues. Now, these are all effects of digital learning, online learning, and this would all weigh down to the mental health of the students, and in turn, it will result into them having a less effective or less efficient time dealing with online learning, and this will make them fall behind their academics. And this just goes to show that online classes are not the ultimate. Even if we are living in a pandemic where we have to resort to online classes, being self-sufficient enough to handle the tasks, the assignments, and be mentally prepared or adequate to take them all every day throughout the semester, it's possible, but it's not gonna be easy for a lot of people, especially in this day and age where we are living in a pandemic where there's a lot of increasing anxiety and stress, which are, by the way, the two. Anxiety is one of the most common disorder to be found in people, as reported by the World Health Organization. This was based on the study that was done in 2013. 10% of the human population suffers from either depression or anxiety, and during emergencies like we are in right now, 1 out of 5 people suffers from these two mental disorders. Now, this was back in 2013. Now we are living in 2020. Imagine the numbers. I think it would be more than 10% now, and I think a lot of people are suffering from that, especially now that we're living in COVID-19 pandemic, where everyone would always be worried about what's the next day going to be, when is everything going to end. But inshallah everything is going to be better. But that's only the first implication. It renders online learning unreliable. It is already unreliable, but with the addition of the state of mind, the state of mental health of the students, it makes it that much more unreliable in days to come. The second implication is decline in academic performance. There were a lot of studies done before in order to determine or to show whether or not there is a relationship between mental health and academic performance, whether or not they are related. In a study that was done back in 2001, done by Yusofi and Amini, they stated that anxiety, depression, physical problems, and lack of health in general can lead to a decline in learning. A researcher by the name of Lee also added that there are several other factors, including the university environment, the feeling of detachment from family, the lack of interest in the educational major, failure to get along with others, insufficient economic welfare amenities can also bring about mental problems, consequently a decline in students' performance. Now, a study that was conducted by Asari 2008 answered the question whether or not there is a relation between mental health and students' performance. And in that study, he gave out a questionnaire regarding mental health problems, and it turns out that students who have better mental health status, that is those who obtain lower scores in the mental health questionnaire, have a better educational performance. And he concluded in that study that depression and anxiety, which are the two most common psychological disorders, affect mental health and cause a decline in educational performance. There are a lot of factors that would affect or cause people to develop mental disorders such as anxiety and depression prior to online learning. But now online learning has become the norm, where in the world that we're living in the pandemic, where online learning is the only mode of learning that we have to opt for in order for us to not fall behind. It also comes with challenges and hurdles that people would need to overcome in order for us to stay mentally fit, to be able to go through the online learning process. Now, having exclusively online interactions can have a real impact on the mental health for both students and lecturers. According to this one BBC article, there is such a thing that is called online fatigue. Video chats, where video chats can make it harder for our brain to process non-verbal cues like facial expressions, the tone and the pitch of the voice, and body language. Delays in the video conference can make it harder to feel like you are having a natural conversation with someone in that call, and being aware that you are in camera at all time can drain your energy, as you may feel more conscious of how you appear in front of others and feel pressured to perform. And this is something that we can all relate to when we're having these online classes. Basic things like reading can also be a struggle as well, as reading information online can have a negative effect on how much students retain. Reading and absorbing information through an online material or on a screen can requires a different set of skills than when you read from a book or a handout. People tend to comprehend and retain information better when reading from a real book or handout, while most college students are used to working almost exclusively on laptops. Comprehending information from a video lecture consisting of 50 other students while the lecturer is trying to explain would not be the same experience as compared to when you have your tutorial in class. Now, those are the challenges that you face, and this in turn will pile up and become the reason why there's a decline in academic performance among students in online learning. Okay, we have come to the third and final implication. this is going to be a short one, which is difficult to troubleshoot. Now, why is it difficult? And why do I use the word troubleshoot? Isn't troubleshoot used for computers? Well, to troubleshoot is to identify and then fix the problem that we have in our hands, which is usually used in computers. But funnily enough, it can also be used. It is also what we use in dealing with people with mental disorders. We first identify and then we help them get them back up on their feet. Now, this is what we call a part of mental health interventions technique or programs that many companies and universities adopt in order to help these people as part of their integrated health and well-being strategy that usually covers first prevention, early identification, support, and rehabilitation. Now, these 4 things are the things that you apply in real life that normally counselors and teachers would use, but for you to apply it in an online setting, that would make it that much harder, and that's why it is difficult to troubleshoot. To make it clearer on the mental health intervention techniques that I mentioned earlier, prevention and all of that, a good example of it being imposed in real life would come from our very own university. So UiTM last year during the World Mental Health Day 2019, there was a launch directed by the Department of Psychiatry, a launch of a squad called Squad Peduli Minda, which comprises of psychiatrists and psychologists as a part of an innovation program used to increase awareness on mental health and conduct training to empower university students with various strategies to face mental health challenges. Now, this was back then, this was in 2019, prior to COVID-19 and prior to online learning. But the initiatives that our university is taking currently have been limited to online talks, but that's not stopping them from applying these strategies online and do their best in helping us out in relation to our mental well-being. An example of an upcoming event that our university is initiating, directed by our unit counselling, is an online talk called mental health care during pandemic, which is going to be on WebEx this Thursday, 5th November 2020, starting at 9:30. So if I have the link, I'm going to share it in the slide, but I'm not telling you to go. I'm just saying that this is one of the event or program that our university is initiating, trying to apply the strategy that I said earlier. So that's it for my part. Before I pass the video to Hanim, any last words? So if you do need help after hearing me talking about mental health care during the online learning stuff, if you do need help, you can try and seek out a friend. That is always the main thing to do. Try to tell your problems to your friends, and if you're not comfortable with opening up to someone, to your close friends, your circle, you can always seek help from the university, as the unit counselling for you is always open for students to go in and reach out. So there always going to be a person there for you, no matter what, I think. So that's all from me.
Hi everyone. So here's the last part of today's presentation. I am Nur Hamiza Ramli, and I will be talking on the solutions to help us cope with mental health during this pandemic and online learning. Well, to be honest, it's not that kind of solution that will give you absolute recovery, but these ways that I will tell you later on can help reduce the weight on your shoulder. In this pandemic, I know it is very, very stressful for all of us, but don't worry, because we have each other's back. Helps come from many sources, and one of it is from the government, who actually had done a lot of initiative in order to help students that are having difficulties. One of them is by giving one-off incentive worth 200 ringgit Malaysia to all higher institutional students around Malaysia. I believe all of us receive the money and utilize it well, right? Don't use it to go shopping because it is meant for us to buy data and do anything that will help us during this online learning. For some individuals, 200 ringgit might seem as a small amount, but for those coming from low-income family, that's a really huge amount. And I do feel bad for some as they had to use the money for household purposes, such as buying foods and necessary. But that's something that we cannot avoid. And that's where we, as family and friends, need to play our roles by checking on each other to make sure we are all well during this time. Second, the university had also done a lot in order to make sure that their students can go through online classes smoothly. For example, as you can see, this is an article from Astro Awani saying that University Malaysia Sarawak Unimas gave financial help and cut off hostel fee for a few months for the students. Here is another one from Sinar Harian. It mentioned that University Utara Malaysia UUM do seek the government to provide 200 laptops for B40 students. And this one is from Berita Harian stating that University Technology Mara UiTM, our beloved university, gave incentive worth RM100 to all of the students. Yes, we do receive it right. So based from these few evidences, I believe that the government and the universities had done a lot in order to ensure that the students can go through online learning smoothly. For the second part, I will tell you some of the ways that you can do to help your own self in dealing with mental health issue. I found this one PDF from Google. It's actually an online book entitled Doing What Matters in Time of Stress, an illustrated guide. It's a stress management guide for coping with adversity, focusing on mental health issue. This guide was developed by World Health Organization (WHO). As you can see, here is the front page and the publication and validation that this guide is legit from WHO. After I went through the book, in my humble opinion, it's a very useful and the tips help me so much in handling my mental state. You know, things get rough sometimes and we need to know the right technique on how to deal with it. What makes the guide comprehensible is because it uses good illustrations that makes it feel like we are reading a comic, but with a good content. So right now, I'm going to summarize the illustrative guide for you. So based from the guide, there are 5 ways that you can do in order to deal with stress. They are grounding, unhooking, acting on your values, being kind, and making room. Let's go through one by one. Usually, when we are stressed, our behavior will change. We often start doing things that will make our life worse. We might get into fights, arguments, or disagreements. Or we might withdraw and stay away from people that we love. Bad thoughts and self-blaming will start to invade our mind. That is what we call as hooked. There are many kinds of difficult thoughts and feelings that can hook us. For example, thoughts about giving up, blaming others, harsh judgments about ourselves, and bad memories. So how do we free ourselves from being hooked? First, to do grounding, you must learn how to focus, engage, and pay attention better. When we are stressed, we find it hard to engage in life. To engage in something here means to give it your full attention. So, if you can learn to be more engaged and focus better, then you will handle stress better. You could practice this while playing game or doing some other activity with the children, like teaching them to read. You simply give your full attention to the children and to the game in order to avoid being hooked again. Sometimes emotional storm could hit you when you experience intensely difficult thoughts and feelings. When it happens, you must learn how to ground yourself. Again, through engaging with the world around you and focusing on what you are doing. Grounding does not make your emotional storms disappear. It just keeps you safe until the storm passes. The purpose of grounding exercises is to help you engage in life. For example, to help you give your full attention to your family and friends. It is also to help you move towards your values and to help you behave more like the kind of person you want to be, and to help you focus on what you are doing so you can do it well. When we engage in life, pay attention to others, focus on what we are doing, and live by our values, we manage stress much better. Second is unhooking. If getting immersed with bad thoughts is called hook, getting away from the thought simply means unhook. But it doesn't mean you push them away, but you stop struggling with them. And whenever you get hooked, you unhook yourself again. But how to unhook? First, you have to notice that a thought or feeling has hooked you. Then you name it. To name the thought, you silently say to yourself something like, whenever you feel tightness, you say, here is tightness in my chest, here is pressure in my forehead, here is a painful memory, here are fears about the futures. The next step is to refocus on what you are doing, whether you are cooking, eating, or playing, or washing, or chatting with your friends. And to engage fully in that activity is to pay full attention to whoever is with you and whatever you are doing. We can do the same thing every time we get hooked and stop engaging in life. The more you practice this, the better you will get. See if you can practice this over and over again all day long as you're going about your daily activities. Every time you notice that you have been hooked, run through the steps again. Well, doing this is like learning a new language. It takes a lot of practice. You can also be hooked by unhelpful thoughts. So as soon as you realize that you have been hooked by these feelings, every little bit of practice you do will make a difference. And every time we practice, we are acting on our values of caring. The third one is acting on your values. Your values describe what kind of person you want to be and how you want to treat yourself and others and the world around you. And even if you are facing a very difficult situation and are separated from your family and friends, you can still live your values of being kind, caring, loving, and supportive. You can find little ways to act on these values with the people around you. Because the way you influence the world around you is through your actions. The more you focus on your own actions, the more you can influence the immediate world around you. So how to act on your values? Firstly, pick an important relationship. Choose someone you care about a lot, who you see on a regular basis, and what values do you want to live in this relationship. Remember, even the tiniest action matters. A giant tree grows from a tiny seed, and even in the hardest or most stressful of times, you can take small actions to live by your values. When you act on your values, you will begin to create a more satisfying and fulfilling life. Next is being kind. No matter how bad your situation is, you are always better off if you have a friend by your side. Someone who is kind, caring, and helpful. Someone who says kind things when you are in pain or in a dreadful predicament. When you see someone in pain, suffering, and struggling, what are small acts of kindness that you could do? Even the smallest acts, such as smiling or saying hi to them, will make a difference. Everyone needs a friend. Everyone needs kindness. When you are kind to other people, you will have more energy to help others and more motivation to be kind to others. So everyone benefits. And if you are kind to your own self, remember, like all values, kindness goes both ways. And the last one is making room. To learn this skill, it is useful to think about the sky. No matter how severe the weather, be it sunny or rainy, the sky will always have a room for it. The sky can never be hurt or harmed by the intense heat and freezing cold weather. And sooner or later, the weather always changes. Our thoughts and feelings are like weathers, and we can learn to be like the sky and make room for the bad weather of our difficult thoughts and feelings without being hurt by it. But how? Firstly, just like unhooking, you need to notice and name the bad thought that lingers around your mind. Imagine if it has a size, shape, and color. And imagine breathing into and around this object and making room for it in your body. Or imagine it gently resting on your lap, but you stay engaged with the words around you. It simply means don't stress yourself out thinking of the bad thoughts and stress, as it will only harm you. Instead, make room for it. You can never run away from bad thoughts in your life. The harder you push it away, the faster it will come to you. And the only thing that you can do is to unrecognize its existence and go on living a good life. So that's all from our presentation. Thank you for spending your time listening to us. Have a good day, and don't forget to always take care of your mental health.